Yo, what is up, YouTube? It is Lion here, and we are back at it today with FakeMews, Alymere, and KrumpyLumpkins. We're going to be going over our top picks out of the new set Divine Order, talking about the meta preview, what we think is going to be the impact from these cards, which ones are playable, which ones aren't. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hope you enjoy. We are going to be doing, this is the Lion and Friends Divine Order meta preview. We have FakeMews with us, KrumpyLumpkins, Alymere, and myself. If everyone wants to say hello.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Oh, what's going on?
How's it going, guys?
Nice. Cool. All right, well, it looks like everyone can be heard. Exclamation point raffle in the chat, KrumpyLumpkins. Very generously giving away a Trials Rare chest. We will do that at the end of the review, or preview, I should say. So that is going on. You must be a follower to enter. So make sure you follow the channel and exclamation point raffle to get your ticket. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to do it a little bit differently than we did last time. Last time we had, some numbers that were written down and kind of did a reveal thing, but it was pretty time consumptive. So this time we are going to be focusing on some of the more meta relevant cards in our opinion, going through and reviewing those, and we are going to be doing it by God. So we're going to get started with Death right now, and our first card that is on the list is the Decaying Rhino. So I guess we haven't really established this too much, but I guess if anyone has something they'd like to say about this ridiculously strong nether card, go for it.
It's a 4-mana 6/6. If you're able to stay frenzied, it's a 4-mana 6/6. That sounds pretty solid stats for cost.
And yeah, the frenzy thing isn't that hard for Death. I mean, you got your face damage from stuff like Brimstone and Dangerous Ritual. Having one creature on the board, and even then, even if you can't stay frenzied, it's a 4-mana 6/5? Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, this card's just clearly powerful. I mean, I think it's pretty clear-cut power creep. So you have a couple generic 4-mana 4/5s, and nature has their 4-mana 5/5 confused, and it's just a 4-mana 6/5 if you cast it with no frenzy. So,
and you're throwing a nether tag on top of that, not to mention it's common. This is just going to be run in everything.
Yeah, I mean, this set has a lot of power creeps, and this is a situation where this is clearly one. It's just really good stats for cost. Nothing too complicated here, but it'd be interesting to see how if this can fit in a deck. That's how crazy this new meta is going to be.
Y'all remember 4-mana 7/7 meme from Hearthstone? This is the GU 4-mana 7/7 meme.
At least the 4-mana 7/7 in Hearthstone had the Overload too, which cost you 2 extra mana next turn. This doesn't even have that.
Yeah, really, it's really strong.
Yeah, one of my questions is, do you think that the nether tag is really going to be relevant for this card at all? I've noticed most of the nether stuff from this set is based on, I guess, Corpse Explosion and other stuff like that. I don't know where that becomes relevant. Does anyone have any ideas where that would be?
I mean, if you're looking to run a nether deck with solid creatures, I mean, there's solid nethers around, and particularly if you can get upwards of 15 nethers into the deck, you're looking at Influential Incubus, which can also dish a lot of damage to face and put a decent sized creature on the board. So I'd probably be experimenting with that. I mean, I did love playing around with the zombies and the token variant for the Corpse Explosion, but I think nethers in general can just be quite strong. And you could throw this in with stuff like Nether Swarm Lord as well, the 5-mana 3/5 in this set. So I think there's opportunity for there to be some beefy nethers in these kinds of decks.
Gotcha. All right, let's go to the next one. We have I guess I could probably just leave that up, and then we could just go. The next one we wanted to talk about is Mark of Death. Yeah, well, that's smooth. Okay, so we have Mark of Death, and this is a 3-cost spell that has Blessed on it, and it gives Afterlife summon a 1/1 zombie to each of your creatures.
I can't remember, but I think I may have given this a 0 when we rated it the first time. I think now that we know what Blessed does, this card's even worse. I was expecting Blessed to be worth, 1.5, maybe even 2 mana for this effect to be pretty impactful, but I think Blessed is worth 1 mana, if not less. Personally. Not good.
I play tested this a little bit on PTR and it wasn't very good. So just throw that out there. I'm probably not going to be using that in my zombie deck. I had a zombie deck on PTR. And if it can't fit in that deck, where's it going to go?
Yeah, I did play it in my Corpse Explosion zombie deck. I think Lion played a variant of that at some point as well.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, only running 1, and it was super niche, so it's still difficult to fit in. But I don't mind the card, and I like the zombie archetype. I think this thing paired with Corpse Explosion can work, but it's a little bit too situational at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think that there's some potential. It's almost like it's not really quite necessary for the deck to work right now. So yeah, maybe hopefully they revisit this one. A little bit of a balance there, but I would say same opinion for me. All right, so now we have the next card on the list, Overseer of Vitality. Overseer of Vitality. Yeah, so this is a I actually don't think I saw this card, but this is a 7-cost rare Nether 5/5 roar. Give 2 health to each enemy creature and +2 strength to each of your other creatures.
I got this off of Larceny once, and it wasn't that good. 7 mana is for 7 mana in this meta. You're going to need a much more powerful effect than this. And to me, I just don't think it's strong enough when you've got better options at 7.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we've looked. Sorry, Ali.
No, go for it.
All right, so I mean, we've got at 6 mana Neferu, and that's essentially the comparison for me when it comes to that -2 health point. It is effectively like a board wipe combined with a board buff for your own creatures, but again, it's situational.
If you take a step back and just look at this game in general, I think about the last turn, you can expect to be playing cards that swing the board heavily is turn 6. Because once you start getting to these cards that require big board states on either side on turn 7, then you're either in a really interesting aggro game, or you're playing against a control deck that can just wipe your board anyways. So these big swingy 7 drops, they're just not super playable. I mean, Asterius is playable, but that's on 6. And this card is kind of comparable. It's also comparable to Neferu, but Neferu's on 6. I think if Neferu or Asterius was 7, they'd probably be unplayable too. So I don't think this is going to make very many waves.
Yeah, I think people might notice that the set actually has, I think, one of these for each god. These 7 mana 5/5s with an effect. And I think pretty much all of them except for this one got cut from the review because they weren't good. This is close to playable, but it still doesn't compare with those with those big 6 mana drops. Like you're saying, it's just that 2 pips too expensive.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about this card that might give it some value is because it's -2 health, it can kill creatures that may have armor or something like that. But again, it's not like it stands out that much more from some of the other cards that you could get around that mana cost. So yeah, a little disappointing. Maybe they thought that with the power of armor, it might be a little bit more playable. But yeah. Let's go.
If you're worried about armor, there's a card called Apocalypse Now that also costs 7 that Death has
Yes.
access to.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know in a case in which you would be playing a deck that you need the creatures on the board still and then be running this at 7 mana. I feel like any deck like that kind of ends at 6. And I don't know if that's just because we haven't really had a mid-range meta at all in the time I've been playing. It's either like aggro or control, at least in my experience. But that's where I feel like cards like this just kind of don't seem to fit in. Okay, so next card on the list. This is a really fun one. I know a lot of us had fun with this on the PTR. So this one is Corpse Explosion. This is a death, 5 mana spell. Destroy your nether creatures, deal 1 damage to the enemy god for each nether destroyed, and if you are frenzied, deal 3 damage instead.
It's got to cop a nerf. Just having
What?
5 nethers, just 5 nethers on the board with the frenzied is 15. Like, it's very easy to have that many nethers on the board when you're playing zombies. If I don't know, I think it's extremely strong.
Wow. This is okay. So first of all, I want to say eat your heart out, Neferu's will. This is everything that you want it to be and more.
Yeah.
Everyone telling me to play Neferu's will. Still no, but I might play this card because I agree it has some application, I'll say. I think if you have 5 nethers, probably playable. If you have 4 nethers, it's okay. Anything less than that, it's awful. I don't think it needs nerfed. I think this is a well-balanced, for fun card. I don't think nethers and Corpse Explosion is going to be like a meta deck, but definitely seems fun.
It reminds me a lot of Neferu's Will. It feels like a more of a win more condition to me. I don't actually think this is going to be a very powerful card at all. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest.
Wow, very different opinions there. But I don't know. Did you guys play with Arch of Amendmos on PTR?
Yeah, but that card's like clearly broken.
But the thing is if you can't deal with that, you just lose. And if you can deal with that, then you've got no corpse to explode. So I don't know. It's a conditional finisher. You're not going to want to play this unless you have lethal because you're going to be killing all of your creatures.
Unless you marked for death them.
I guess I'm just excited about this because it gives another win condition to a harvester deck as well. Lots of little creatures, specifically if you can have them as nethers, this is another option for a harvester, Arch of Amendmos. A couple of these at the top end, you've actually got a few win conditions to draw on with that deck now, as opposed to previously it was just run a zoo and the harvester and then hope that your opponent doesn't wipe you over and over. This puts the ball a little more in your court, in my opinion.
But think of what you're asking for. Trying to stick a harvester, a 6 mana 3/4 on the board, and stick a bunch of other nethers, and have it be your turn next turn, because you can't play this and the harvester on the same turn. The conditions for all of that, if you're able to meet all those conditions anyways, you've probably already won the game.
Disagree.
Yeah, so there's a couple of cards coming up that we're going to be talking about that had interactions that I found were really strong with Corpse Explosion. And as Krumpy said, like with Harvester, I actually, after playing the PTR, went and bought a Harvester because, I'm not the best at deck building and being able to say like what is going to end up being a powerful meta deck, but I did have a ton of fun, and the interactions just seemed a lot stronger than what we've seen the capability of the Harvester have, or I guess, yeah, just the capability we've seen from the Harvester in the past. It does feel like a little bit stronger version of Nef's Will, where you don't actually have to attack through something. You could just deal the damage straight to face. So let's move on to some of these other cards, because I think that they're going to have potentially some impact on the conversation. The next one, not Amali in the building. Welcome. The next one here is the Nether Swarm Lord. This is a 5-cost 3/5 nether. At the end of your turn, give 1/1 to each other friendly nether. If you are frenzied, you also draw a card.
I mean, the one thing that it has going for you is you can play this on a turn that you're frenzied, and it's a 5-mana 3/5 that at the minimum replaces itself and draws a card. If you've got nethers on the board, you get to add an extra added benefit. So it appears solid in another based deck if you have the tribal theme.
Yeah,
All right, hear me out here. This card is just Sky Reaver, but you get to play 2 of them. I actually think this card might be good. Because if it hits 2 other creatures, that's 5 mana, you're getting 5/7 in stats and a card draw. That's pretty good. If you hit 1 creature, 5 mana, 4/6 in stats, and you draw a card, that's not bad. But I don't know. I think if nethers are a thing, this card will be the engine the deck runs on.
For the record, I think Ethers, the Sky Reaver would be very strong if Ethers were actually a thing. But since that's not a thing, it's not that strong. So just having this in nethers, where nethers are already on the borderline of being broken between the god power and some of the cards we've already seen, this I think has a little bit more upside potential just because of the tribal tag.
Yeah, I really like it. I think if I think nethers is going to take a fair bit of experimentation. Like I did try to put some nethers into a deck. You got this with the Decaying Rhino and those other strong big stat nethers, Influential Incubus, that kind of stuff. It's going to take a bit of tweaking, but I think once there's a solid deck out there focused around that nether synergy and this card, I think it's going to be tough to come up against.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what can come from this. I actually didn't try this card out or give it too much thought, but it's nice to hear your reflections on it.
I also love the art.
Yeah, the art on it.
It's good art.
Yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool art. I mean, in this game in general, but this set's it's been very impressive to me. So shouts out to the art team over at GU. Okay, our next one. This is the Deathwatch Elder. This is a 3-cost 3/3 Anubian that has Blessed, and at the start of your turn, if your god has 15 health or less, deal 3 damage to the enemy god.
I thought that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say at first I thought this card was like insane, but then I realized it has to live for its effect to work. So I don't know. I kind of value Blessed at half a mana, maybe a little bit more if you have some synergy with it. But 2.5 mana 3/3. It's not great. It's not likely to live. There's no protections. Anubian is not a great tribe. If this was a nether, it would be really good. But as an Anubian, I don't think it's very good. I do think it'll see some play in very, very fast, burn you down death aggro decks. But yeah, just not great, in my opinion.
I think at best it's very situational. Maybe some 15 or less health decks will try to slip this in, but even then, I think they've got a lot better options. I just don't see this getting top meta play. I don't think it's that good.
Be one of those cards that you throw one of in if you have a diamond or a gold or a shadow copy or something, just for that that little highlight in your deck. I love to see those kinds of things, people running sick cards in decks like that. But yeah, I think it'd be sort of a bit of another tech for those 15 health or less sort of death decks.
Yeah, I actually tried running this on the PTR, and I just didn't find that it was useful in the deck. I was running a what is it, Dangerous Ritual with Brimstone, kind of, if I guess get your well, that's a little bit more direct burn, but I just felt like it didn't, in any of the decks that I tried, it didn't seem to be very effective, and I did give the card a shot. So I I didn't find anything. Does anyone have any ideas for the actual, like an actual Anubian synergy for it? Because I also didn't see anything there.
No, the one deck I got it to work with was Faustian Pact, double Necronomics, Bomb Flies, like literally every effect that had symmetrical damage. I was running Brimstone, Dangerous Ritual, and if you can cast Faustian Pact with a coin on turn 4, and then like double Necronomics out your Deathwatch Elders and all of your Deathbloom Thanatars, then that's got some power, but once again, it only worked like a third of the time, so I think there's better options.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you want a deck that works 1 out of 3 times, I highly suggest Casino Death. There's some very nice top-end options now for Casino as well. But yeah, that's a reach at best, I would have to say.
I would like, if you do have a good Casino list, Muse, I would love to try that out. So I've tried to put something together myself, but I don't even know how that deck archetype worked before the new set. So if you do have a list, I would love to try that out.
I'll definitely be building one for the new set. It's kind of a fun deck, but I don't think it's going to be at a top level, serious level. And my current list are not at top level, serious level either.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. Either way, I still like playing some decks just for fun. If it's ranked weekend, I pull out the Enduring Shield. But for the week, why not have some fun? So the next card coming up is the Rotted One. This is a 5-cost 8/8 Dargon, and it is roar. It has Roar. If you have less than 20 cards in your hand and Void combined, deal 10 damage to your god. Any thoughts?
Cool card.
I mean, a 5-mana 8/8. I mean, Death sometimes doesn't care about taking damage. If you're in a meta where you're facing a lot of very slow decks, the drawback might not be terrible.
Hear me out here. Dragonkin Collar into curved Rotted One. Okay. It's gonna be OP. I'm calling it now.
Would you run 2 Dragonkin Callers just to be able to bring these out?
I think playing the Rotted One is a victory in itself, so probably you have to play both Dragonkin Callers.
It's just sad when they play a Hunting Trap and then you go in the corner and cry.
I think you bait them though. Maybe turn 3 you coin out your Rhino. Turn 4 you get to Collar, and then they know what's coming and they're like, crap, I just wasted my Hunting Trap, and then you hit them with the Rotted One. And they're sad. I don't think that'll actually be like super competitive, but it will definitely be fun.
I think one thing
it's intriguing, but I'm thinking the drawback is a little bit too much.
One thing I wanted to say is, like, if you do, like, say, if you can, what is this, like, reanimate this because it's Roar. I don't know if there's going to be a way to do that. I guess it might find a home in Casino. I don't know if that'll be serious or not, but you do avoid that if it's already in the Void.
Wait, I'm changing my vote.
Yeah.
I think this card's actually probably good, and not in aggro decks. Okay, so I played probably like 30 games on Handlock in the PTR, and I was trying to find the closest thing to Molten Giant. And, I thought it was Thanatar, but it's probably this guy. Just 5-mana 8/8, you're already drawing like 4 cards a turn so that you can get your Rock Drake eggs. I'm going to have to experiment more with this, but I think this could potentially be like good.
Yeah, being able to bring this back over and over is a scary thought.
I mean, you just get to play it with no downside towards the end of the game. And yeah, I mean, you're running out of cards very quickly in that death deck, so.
But let's be honest, at the end of the game, isn't 8/8 even that effective in the Divine Order meta? I mean, we've got some insane late game cards if you're talking late game.
True, but that deck's whole purpose is just sleep your opponent's board every turn with Siren of the Grave. So having an 8/8 on the board is probably good. I don't know, maybe it's not good. We'll have to see. I'm a little bit
We'll
more open
probably
to it now.
Yeah, we'll probably see a bit of experimentation around this. I definitely want to give it a go now. With some of that afterlife sort of bring back from the void synergy. I'm just comparing it a little bit to Black Blood Blast with the amount of damage that it deals to you and the benefit that you're getting out of it. Wipe the board completely. You take, what is it, 8 damage now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think. Dealing 10 to yourself to get an 8/8 out, but at 5 mana. Yeah, there's some thinking to be done on this one, but it's a scary card for sure, and I want a shiny one.
You want a shiny one? That's fair.
All right. Well, let's for the sake of time, we do have to wrap up Death here. We have 2 more cards. The next one is Necroscepter. This one is a ton of fun. This is a 0/1 relic, 3 cost, epic card for death. At the end of your turn, obliterate 2 random creatures in your void and summon a 1/1 zombie. If you are frenzied, summon an additional zombie. Zombies.
So I played around with this one on the PTR with that zombie deck line, and it's really good. I mean, obviously, just gets destroyed by relic removal, but by that stage, hopefully, you've at least got 2 zombies out of it. Where I'm not sure where it's going to fit in is this obliterate 2 random creatures in your void thing. From what I know, even if you have no creatures in your void, the effect still fires. It just keeps deleting your void. So I guess there's, with death, you're going to want some stuff. It depends on the type of death you're playing. If you're playing that bring shit back from the void kind of archetype, this isn't what you're going to be what you want. But when you have a void full of zombies, you don't care. So it's similar to the Skull Scepter in the way that if you don't deal with it, it's going to cause you a lot of problems as the opponent to this card.
Wow, I didn't realize this card actually fired when you didn't have any creatures in your void. I thought it was an if. If it actually summons zombies when it doesn't have to obliterate your creatures, this card's actually probably good. 3 mana for like 1.5. I mean, if you're frenzied every other turn, that's still really good. 3 mana. You probably have to have this thing work for 3 turns still for it to be good. Like good enough to get enough value out of it, but these zombies heal you, so this thing keeps you alive pretty well over the course of a game. I think if you coin it out on turn 2 or even play it on 3, that's enough.
Yeah, I played it on PTR. I thought it was strong. I was playing a zombie-related deck, though, so that might have had something to do with it. I think that there'll be some niches where this card will definitely see some play, though.
I'm just thinking this plus Nether Swarm Lord, like that in and of itself just seems good.
Yeah, I found in my testing on PTR, I liked this card a lot. I felt like it wasn't too hard to keep frenzied, and like once you have the zombies going, you can use them to proc the frenzied, and then you have some ammo for your corpse explosion later. I do like that archetype a lot, and I do think that it's probably a little undervalued in its strength. But we gotta keep moving on this one. We're gonna have to just pick up the pace a little bit. We have a lot of cards to get through, but the next card on hand, the Arch of Amenmos. I know there's a lot of strong feelings on the strength on this card, so I'll let you guys get into it.
Yeah,
it's wet OP. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's so strong that it's just that health total. I think I love the effect of it and the fact that it keeps producing itself its own front lines. But it is a bit difficult to deal with. And the zombies providing leech gives this good legs in something like a corpse explosion deck, but you could also run this in more mid-range or control death deck, and it's going to be providing value because it's just that it's super sticky and annoying, and your opponent's going to struggle to deal with it. Full stop.
Yeah, there's only 3 cards in the set that I think are going to be changed or nerfed, like that I'm really confident are going to be nerfed, and this is one of them. It's not like clear cut, completely broken, like one other card we will get to later, but it is really good. 6 mana just seems like the point at which they want you to either win the game as an aggro deck or win the game as a control player. So it's got a lot of really swingy cards in it, and this is definitely a really swingy card.
I think all they need to really do is remove the roar on this card, because when you play it, you summon 3/1/1 zombies. The fact that it has backline means your opponent most likely won't be able to touch it. If they remove the roar, then it's probably a little bit less sticky, and maybe your opponent could be able to deal with it.
Yeah, I think remove the roar or remove the backline. Either of those are fine, but yeah.
What do you think about pushing it up to 7 mana and keeping it the way it is?
Still good. I actually think it would still be good at 7 mana.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. We are now through all of the death cards. We're going to be moving into Deception, one of my new favorites. So the first card we have here is the Patient Pickpocket. This is
so we can pull up multiple cards, right?
Yeah, we can pull up multiple cards if there are other cards you want me to show. Currently, it'd probably make the most sense to show up to 2 other ones. But
okay,
yeah, just let me know what you'd like to see.
Pickpocket, Acolyte, and Escapee.
And you want to see the Prison Escapee?
And the Shackled Acolyte.
And the Shackled Acolyte all together. Okay, give me 1 second. Hold. All right. And let me
help us. They all have order 3. They're all creatures. It would help us do some comparisons, I think.
And card. Oh, wrong cat. Wrong card. Wrong card. It is a cat. Let me just move. That's right. Here to here. Okay. There we go. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, 3 order 3 creatures in the same class means that if any of them are going to see play, probably only 1 or 2 of them will see play, and one of them is going to get pushed out. And I think that it's probably going to be the Shackled Acolyte. I think it's the weakest one here, in my opinion. I also don't know that Prison Escapee is that good, but in my mind, Prison Escapee and Shackled Acolyte are very, very similar. It's just that Prison Escapee summons a second body, which is generally harder to deal with than one bigger body.
So the thing about the Prison Escapee is that when it loses order, it summons another escapee with order. So then that has the potential to summon another one, and it's one of those cascading effect kind of cards. Shackled Acolyte, Lion played around with the boosted version of that for some ridiculous combos, which worked kind of almost sometimes. But all of these order cards are really good with changing locks. And what's the other one? Prisoner Exchange. Those 2 1 mana spells. The issue with the PTR was that Patient Pickpocket was actually bugged. If it lost order normally, then the effect fired and it was fine. If you tried to remove that order yourself, it actually soft locked the game. So hopefully we don't see that in the follow up. But I like the gameplay style of being able to add and remove order to your own creatures in order to get their effect, and proccing that multiple times as well. Patient Pickpocket is really strong. I mean, you're adding a copy. It's a 1/3 first of all, which is a good stat line for a 1 mana card. And then you're adding a copy of a random card in your opponent's hand when it loses order. If you can proc that multiple times, then you're getting a lot of value against your opponent.
To me, the the prisoner escapee thing isn't very strong. It's a 3-mana 3/1, 3-mana 2/1 is super super slow, and it dies to Orpheo's Deception, Mage Bolt, basically literally any spell, even on accident, and it just takes such a long time to get value out of. One, the 3-mana 2/2 that has order 3, and when it loses order, it doubles its stats. It's mostly just going to die to spells. It's going to be difficult to set up anything. The only thing is that I really like is the Pickpocket 1-mana 1/3 with the order 3. 1-mana 1/3 is solid stats for cost, and you get a card to replace it. That seems super solid. The other cards, not a big fan of.
I think the last thing I'll say here is that Deception has 8 creatures with order 3, and every single one of them would be better if it was order 4, so that it ended at the end of your opponent's turn. I think they should have experimented here maybe with like some order 2s and some order 4s and maybe even some order 5s, but having 8 creatures with the same order value gives you a lot of samey cards that you have to choose between instead of them actually fitting into like different types of decks.
Yeah, so something, because I play tested this deck quite a bit, and it's pretty funny. The first time I only played it twice, and it worked the second time, and I was like, 50%, here we go. And then I tried it like 6 additional times, and it didn't work any of those times. So one thing that I was finding and what I was trying to test at the end there was actually not focusing so heavily on making the Shackled Acolyte like the primary focus of the deck, like just all inning on the Shackled Acolyte. But I think that there's going to be some benefit to playing these creatures down and having to have so many threats that your opponent has to deal with or they can get out of hand, and being able to add those kind of synergistically into a high pressure deck already, like Hidden Rush Deception. And I need more time to play test this and figure this out. But that's the direction I started going in, was something where I just require them to have so many answers that once they do run out of answers, I have some sort of combo that can pop off to end up providing lethal or win the game. But
that's the thing with Patient Pickpocket as well. It's a 1/3, so you've got the potential to throw Dark Knives or Assassin's Aim on this thing as well once it pops out of that order lock. So you're getting the effect, and then you've got a 1/3 which you can either start using to deal with tokens or whatever, or just ping and face for the favor, or you throw one of these bad boys on it. And it's basically hidden until the effect comes out, and then just start dishing damage with it. So it's, as you said, Lion, it's one of those things you can add into an already high pressure deck, and your opponent really has to start thinking about how to play around those things.
Yeah, and I think Patient Pickpocket's one I didn't actually I didn't see the value in and try. Well, nice to know it was broken anyways. But I briefly wanted to touch on the order fall off with where we're going to probably be moving through Deception pretty quickly here since we're handling the order cards now. But if we pull back up the Shackled Acolyte with like the order 3, and so if you play this, it'll be their turn, your turn, their turn. So the order falls off on their turn, right, with 3, or does it fall off on your turn?
Falls off at the end of your turn.
Falls off at the end of my last turn. So that's something that I also wanted to talk about with I brought it up in my video or in my description, but what's the other one? So we have not changing locks, but
Prisoner Exchange.
Prisoner Exchange. So this ends up remove the order your creatures to give them order +2 at the start of your opponent's turn. Because it gives it +2 at the start of your opponent's turn, it will drop the order on their turn. And I think that mechanic has been built into so many of these order cards. Like, it has to be intentionally. Like, there's this upside, but almost all in order to capitalize on your turn, you have to have another remove order card, like changing locks. And I think that it's too heavily baked into all of the order cards to the point where they're all not powerful enough. Like I think that it's just too much. So let's go ahead and we'll pull these cards back down. That one, and this main card. So we're going to move on to this next card. This is Ludia's Dedicant. gosh, I can't spell anymore. Ludia's Dedicant. And this one is a 3-cost 3/3 Mystic Blessed. After you use your God power, copy a random card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand.
It's a 3-mana 3/3. You know, Ellie's going to have a go at Blessed again. I guess if you're using cheat and stuff, and you can, well, I keep calling it cheat. What is it? Orpheo's Distraction now. You can keep using it on this thing, ping a bit of damage, you know, hide it, get another card, that kind of thing. Like, it has some use case there, but yeah. And I like the Mystic tag, but it doesn't have that much to do in Deception, so it's something you might maybe run one of.
I think it's very slow and greedy. That's what I think. I mean, you can play it and then cheat it. Then you get a card, then you can cheat it again, then get another card, but that just seems very slow.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking is, what about this in a deck where you're, I mean, we're about to talk about this card next, but in like Cobra Scepter, where you're using the frontline wall that makes them draw cards, and then maybe you have the like the carriage in it as well, but something to that effect where, I guess what God power are you using in that? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you oh, go ahead.
The effect of this card doesn't really have any impact on Cobra Scepter at all, in my opinion, because your opponent's not drawing a card. So to me, they don't seem related at all.
Got you. Yeah, I guess I was just trying to find a stretch of a way that this creature could be protected without having to cheat it, but it just doesn't seem to synergistically work too well with what there is. So I tried, did my best. But let's go ahead and move to the next card we have. What is this? The Stone Skin Poison. This card I found to be very strong and awesome. What were your thoughts in your testing on the PTR?
It's Sleep Dart, but bad. It is 1 mana, but I think in the control deck you're playing this in, it's not. Okay, I actually didn't remember that it was 1 mana. I thought it was 2. Maybe it's better than Sleep Dart in the aggro deck. You don't really even play Sleep Dart in the aggro deck now that I think about it. But, you know, Deception just has so many like unimpactful like 1 mana cards that you can only play so many of them before your entire hand becomes 1-drops, and then like you play your entire hand by turn 2 and you can't do anything after that. I just don't think it'll see too much play personally.
My thoughts on it are that order, not only like giving it order and burn, any creature that has frontline with order can't be attacked. So then you effectively remove the frontline and you give it burn. So I think it's more effective than any of the other tooling that that Hidden Rush Deception had prior to this. Like, I think it's more effective than a Sleep Dart. It's cheaper. It removes frontline. Like, it does the cheat, and it starts getting rid of the creature you're going to need to destroy at the same time. I think it's pretty valuable, and I found it very useful in my playtesting.
Yeah, I think it's at that 1 mana point, it's very, very useful. And yeah, as you mentioned, against the front line, you know, you can drop this on a Pyramid Warden. Order 3 means that it drops off at the end of your next turn, I think. So that would mean that, you know, the Pyramid Warden is coming back as a 2/4 with 2 burn on it. And in the meantime, it's basically been hidden for a couple of turns. So, yeah, very useful for 1 mana in my mind.
I mean, I think it's a solid card. Sleep Dart was already kind of marginal, and with this new set, has a little bit of a power creep. I wonder if you're going to be able to find a slot for this card. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But to me, it's very borderline at best.
Yeah, I mean, it's competing with Sleep Dart, Hunting Trap, and Mugging. It's just so unclear which of those is like the best, that I'm sure this wins out in some situations, but it's definitely not cut and dry that this is stronger than any of those.
The other thing we need to consider is the new wording around ward with this card, though. You are giving it order, so it's hidden. Ward doesn't protect against giving order effects, nor does it protect against burn. So this is this is strong against the new ward, supposedly.
Yeah, I do think that's going to come into effect in another card we're going to talk about here soon. But yeah, burn and order addition do not seem to be affected by the new ward. The next card I'm just gonna have to push forward a little bit.
No problem.
We have the Cobra Scepter, I guess. Cobra Scepter. Yeah, did anyone want to talk about this one briefly?
No, I hate this card.
Yeah, very strong in aggro decks. I think it's going to be a problem and probably going to get nerfed.
Yeah, so you think it doesn't even really need any synergy? You just throw it in there, and because it's 2 damage every draw, and especially any control deck that's going to be drawing, like you're guaranteed. It's almost like the Skull Scepter of Deception, right? You can just throw it in an aggro deck, and you're gonna have a stronger deck against control.
I think it's actually much better than Skull Scepter, honestly. This card kills them when you have no board. This card is just, it's so unfun to play against. When you're losing to this card, you're going to want to like uninstall the game. It just strikes me as a card that like no one's going to have fun playing against it, and people are not going to have fun playing it aside from the fact that it just like takes away half of your opponent's health by turn 5.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna keep running through them. We're gonna rapid fire these last ones. Shadow Matriarch is the next one. This is the Shadow of Lethenon Matriarch here. It's 2/2 Nether for 3, hidden for 1 turn. Backline at the start of your turn, you summon Shadow of Lethenon. I like the card.
I think Ali can repeat what you said before the start of the stream. Yeah. I don't think he wants anything that summons more Shadows of Lethenon.
Shadow of Lethenon? It's awful. Oh my god. I'm getting into the awful card design argument again, but this card is just such bad card design. Like, Shadow of Lethenon is such a problem. I feel like the more cards we have that summon Shadows of Lethenon, the more we'll highlight the issue of Shadow of Lethenon just being like disgustingly, maybe not overpowered, but just disgustingly unfun to play against. No one wants to play against more Shadows of Lethenon. All right, I'll end it there.
This card is stupid.
Yep.
All right.
I think this adds to what Lime was saying before about adding these kinds of cards to already high pressure decks like Hidden Rush Deception, because it's so difficult to deal with. Your opponent has to try and get rid of it before it spawns more Shadows of Lethenon. Its backline. It just adds to the complexity of trying to deal with, getting smashed in the face by permanently hidden 4/1s. So.
Okay. Yeah, I would just agree with that. Like the deck I was talking about earlier, if you saw my most recent submission for the deck competition, that's kind of my new direction I'm going in for using, the order in a hidden rush kind of fashion. But yeah, let's keep moving forward. We've already talked about the order cards, so this is one of my favorite cards, and I want to hear your opinions on this. This one is Surprise. I can't spell surprise. Surprise Delivery. It is a 3-cost deception card spell that summons 3 O2 explosive barrels for your opponent with order 10, burn 1, and afterlife deal 2 damage to your god. Any thoughts?
I love this card. It doesn't seem very good, but it's very, very like thematic. Just send your opponent a boat with a couple of exploding barrels. What are they going to do about it? Just wait for them to explode on them. It's a refreshing reprieve after all these Shadow of Lethenon cards.
Well, if you can play 2 of these, you can just lock your opponent for a few turns.
Yeah, there's a lot of lockout potential with this card. It can be unfun to have happen to you.
Very unfun.
that's part of the design, I think. I did have like a bit of a thought while I was in the PTR with this card, was that, this thing has order 10, so there's nothing you can do with the barrels. But what if you're able to remove that order and throw these barrels back at your opponent or your opponent's creatures? It could be some cool, afterlife effect where if you manage to actually attack with this thing, it does the damage to your opponent rather than to you, which I think would be kind of cool. But at the moment, it's just an uninteract. Well, it just locks you out. It's annoying, and it's going to deal 6 damage to your face. It's pretty cool, pretty strong, but very annoying to play against.
Yeah, on that note, I think if you gave them all the ability, like if you gave them all an ability that was, you can still use abilities when you have order, so that wouldn't work. It would have to be what you said, that the afterlife would be a conditional if it has order or not when it dies. And I think that would be a cool thing to do here. I just found the strength in this is like when this gets played against you when you're playing aggro and you can't play, like half of your board is taken up by these barrels that you cannot play the creatures. It's such a huge tempo loss there, and I really think that's going to add a lot of value to helping control deception decks survive the early game. So I think that playing this early on against an aggro deck and limiting them to 3 slots until you can get into your board wipes and all that stuff is it's pretty strong.
Sets up Rapture Dance pretty nicely.
Yeah, one thing this game lacks a little bit is counterplay and like tech picks against specific decks. Right now, Enduring Shield's kind of running the meta, but there's no way to counter it really. And so way back, I guess not way back, but like a month ago, when Nefer's Kopesh was like running the meta for 2 weeks, this card is a perfect tech pick for that. It's right on the border of being playable, and it makes Kopesh completely unplayable. I think this is actually pretty good card design, to be honest.
Okay, the next card I want to talk about actually can be played as a combo with this card. The next one is Golden Curse. So this is a 4-cost deception spell, and it gives each enemy creature burn 2, and when that creature dies, your opponent draws a card, and what that means is you draw a card. So when you cast this, your opponent's creatures get burned, and when those creatures die, you draw cards for each one.
Yeah, just combo this with that last card that we saw, and you're golden.
Until your opponent plays 2 sulfuric rains and you draw your entire deck.
I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, sulfuric rain, is that you? Oh wait, this is 4 mana, not 1.
Yeah, but this is but here's the thing, Sulfuric Rain makes your opponent draw the cards, like you draw the cards in this case. So I like it as potentially like a 1-of for control decks. I had a lot of fun with this in the barrels. I had a ton of fun, but let's keep moving through it. We have to get through 2 more cards, and we really need to get to the next god. So the next one is we're gonna get into the legendaries here. This is the Lantern Bound Fae. It is a 5-cost deception legendary nether 3/4 with order 3, and when this creature loses order, pull it into your hand, reduce its cost by 2, and its roar is deal 4 damage to a random enemy creature.
It's slow. I'll just say that. I've played it with Jason. It's just slow.
I'm really good at not reading cards, but I thought this did 4 damage to target creature originally, and I thought it was probably borderline playable, but random enemy character, sometimes this goes face, you don't get rid of their creature, sometimes it hits the 1/1, like it just seems far too slow for the effect.
I think
to be random.
Yeah, I think the random detracts from it, but I really like the card design in the way that you can potentially play this with order adding and removal effects as well. At the moment, the way the card text is written, it just bounces once. So it bounces into your hand. It no longer has order. So the next time you play it, it deals that 4 damage again. And then it's just a regular creature. And the, mana cost reduction and all that. But, if you're running this as a sort of top end to an aggro deception deck, like that 4 damage to face, being able to do it twice if you're, keeping control of your opponents at all is kind of cool. I like the card. I think it could be a bit better though.
Yeah, I think one thing I would like to see is if there's because it will not happen again unless you give it order again, right? So maybe there's a way with that ring that gives order to maybe trigger the bounce multiple times. And I don't know. That's just something I would like to test. But I agree with you because it's not targeted. There's just a lot of ways that this goes wrong. So let's hop to this. Did anyone have anything else? All right, let's hop to this last one. It is the Hollow, and I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on this card.
So I thought this was awful. I still think it's all right-ish, not really, but I mean, until I played against it, I thought it was rubbish. Until my opponent, dropped this early, I wasn't able to deal with it, and then they could give this creature order. So it can give itself order, which is kind of cool. And then you can start to use it as like this, this sort of like another one of those things that can add and remove order to get effects from your creatures. So I kind of like it if you're able to play it early and basically effectively hide it with its own ability. Drawing guild creatures isn't that bad as well. So I think it's cool looking card.
I'd rather have a skeleton heavy.
I'd also rather have a skeleton heavy.
You guys are so short-sighted.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out a way. Like whenever I was putting my deck together, I just never found a time where it just seems too slow. It just seems too slow, and maybe it's good. Maybe it's probably better than the relic that gives one order, if that's saying much. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't figure out.
I think 3 orders. Giving 3 orders is kind of detrimental. Like it takes. If it gave 1 order, that'd be kind of amazing.
Yeah, so maybe you're right there, and that's just something I wanted to circle back to. Is every way to give order? It's like they baked way too much of giving your opponent. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but they did give way too much initiative to your opponent with all these order cards in Deception. It's in every single one. So hopefully they look at that and rework it a little bit. But let's move on to the next god. We're going to be going on to Light. And our first card for Light is the Archpriest of Arthene. So this is a 7-cost 2/2 Olympian. Roar, give order 3 to an enemy creature, then give 1/1 to this creature for each point of order on the board.
It's a minimum of a 7 mana 5/5, but for 7 mana you need a lot more than that. It does combo with that 3 mana doggo that gives something order +10. You could, in theory, have +8 on the board there. And this would be a 13/13 if you played it the turn after that and was able to keep the doggo in play. But that's a very conditional combo. I don't think this is a very good card.
I think this whole sort of control Light archetype is going to change completely. Basically from what we're used to seeing with the introduction of order. This could be insane, and Light control as a whole could be insane with cards like Lips Are Sealed. Your opponent has... You can essentially lock out their entire board with order, and then drop something like this, and then all of a sudden they have a big threat to deal with it, and yet all their creatures have order on it. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I didn't get to have a go playing it in the PTR. It's certainly not anywhere near my style of gameplay. But I think it's a cool new option for control Light that we haven't seen before.
Assuming this card comes in as a 10/10 every time you play it, which it won't. It's still bad. We have a 7 mana 10/10. It's called Burnish Bowl. That card's bad. I don't think this is playable.
I actually agree with that now that he brought that up. I never run the burner spool.
Yeah,
It is Olympian. Run it with Parthene Guardians. Give it ward 2. Now it's a warded 10/10.
Very conditional.
I know. I'm just fucking with you.
All right, let's hop to this next one. The next one is Radiant Dawn, and this is I don't know if y'all ran into this on the PTR, but there was something seriously wrong with the Light God, and it just wouldn't die. But it is a 7-cost spell, and it's heal one of your characters for 15, and give protected to each of your characters, and you can heal yourself.
Interesting. This could be broken in a control light type of deck. I have no idea. That being said, Death has 1 mana, heal 10 cards, so healing for 15 for 6 mana more might not be as powerful as it sounds. But the giving protected to everything is proven to be pretty strong in war, so there's that too. And if you have a lot of creatures with order, you could then play this and give them all protected too.
I think Immutable is fighting to give us the worst possible 7-drop that someone will still play. This card might be the worst one. 7 mana do nothing, as far as I'm concerned. I think we have a 9 mana card from Hearthstone, Tree of Life. Pretty much does the same thing, heals you to full. Completely unplayable. This giving protected to your god is probably relevant, but what creatures are you going to have on the board as control light to give protected to? I just don't think. It's not good.
Yeah, not at all a card I'm going to be playing, but I think it's, I the jury's still out on control light, so I think we'll need to see and whether this makes it in or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so having some experience on the PTR playing against it and playing it, so one thing that's not fair to judge on it is that during the PTR, the Light God just wouldn't die. Like, you would get it to lethal, and then the next turn would start and they would have like 1 life, and you'd just be like, wait, what just happened? So it was really hard to tell if they were dying or not. I was also playing that death deck, so the interactions were like, there were so many layers I couldn't tell. But I did find that if they were able to get to the point where they played Radiant Dawn and had any sort of board, they were going to get to 9 and they were going to play that dragon. And then that was, we'll talk about that card a little bit later, but I do think that the control light could potentially be viable. The problem is it's just so weak in the early game. So let's go to the next card. It is the oh my gosh, please. The Golden Winged Sphinx, and it is a 5-cost 5/5 Anubian light card. Roar, give protected to your god. Afterlife, give protected to your creatures until the end of turn.
So the issue with this card is if your opponent kills it on your opponent's turn, then the ability is not going to be pretty useful because it wouldn't be protected on your turn the way I read this. So if I'm reading it that way, I just see it as a 5 mana 5/5 that gives protected to your god, and that seems pretty low value.
Yeah, this card has to compete with Canonize for the 5-drop slot in the aggro light deck, and it's not beating Canonize, so I don't think it's too great.
We discussed Anubians before. Anubian synergies kind of struggle a little bit. The Nephthys Guardian, the one that gives +1/+1 to a random Anubian when it dies, and no, not protected. Oh, that's the Genesis legendary. But I mean, you're right. If the protected effect is on Afterlife, it's quite difficult to pull off. And the art on this one really disturbs me as well. Something's just a bit off there.
I think the front arms turn into hooves.
Yeah, you're making
halfway.
Oh my god, you're making me look at it now.
The front arms turned into hooves halfway down. I didn't see that before, but that is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I kind of like it though. Okay, so yeah, I didn't when I played this card. Once I finally got the afterlife to go off, it was my opponent was able to trigger it, and it just was like wasted. And then I was like, "Wow, I'm never playing that card again." So that was my experience with the golden winged hooves. Next up is the Divine Judgment. This is a pretty fantastic order card, or a card that interacts with order. It is a 1-cost light spell, obliterate a creature with order. I'll bring up the Watchful Hound now.
So I actually would be interested in this card in kind of tournament settings. If you know your opponent's going to be playing a deck with a lot of order, it can be cool in metagaming. Otherwise, I'm not necessarily sure. It's kind of a 2-card combo to kill one creature. You'll need a card to give their stuff order otherwise, so it's borderline other than potential sideboard tech.
Yeah, man, this card totally slaps against Light Deception and Magic. So, but it's awful against the other 3. I think FakeMews is right. This game needs more counterplay. This card will make competitive play a lot more interesting. So I am for it.
Yeah,
I think it's got a lot of potential in that control light that we were talking about before, with just dishing out order everywhere and throwing divine judgments around. Censure, Watchful Hound, Lips Are Sealed, all of those kinds of stuff. You're right, it's a 2-card combo, but obliterate for 1 mana, like anything. And again, Ward's not going to protect against this in the future, so. Actually, this is the thing. New Ward protects against 1 instance of destroy, not obliterate.
Yeah, no, it won't protect. Ward will not.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're going to see how that control light archetype plays out.
Yeah, and I think it being obliterate is the key here. It's just there are a lot of other cards that you can use to get order on the enemy creatures, and just the ability to have counterplay is something that's really refreshing. So let's go ahead and drop these cards off, and let's go to the next one. This next one is we're getting into the legendaries here. This one is the son of Lysander. His name is Cadmos. He is a 4-cost legendary Olympian 2/4 frontline armor 1. After this creature is attacked, give 1 armor to the chosen one. And the roar, a random 6-mana creature in your deck becomes the chosen one.
So you can make Lysander the chosen one, and then when this gets attacked, your Lysander gets armor. So maybe there could be some synergy there. Maybe finally get Lysander in a deck in a control light variant. But otherwise, this is just a barbed portcullis that costs 1 extra mana, pretty much, and can attack. I don't know.
They're like removing us from the King's Feast of Chosen One God power, and then they're like, "Oh, but wait, here's a baked potato." Like the Chosen One still exists. We just don't support it anymore. I don't think this card's playable, but it's definitely going to be cool to see people try and combo it with the various good 6 drops that Light has, because they do have 3 very strong 6 drops. I think if this card hits Lysander, I mean, that makes it even harder to kill, and it auto heals itself every turn. Yeah, that's not terrible. You just have to get it to work first.
Yeah, I think like the effects on this card are great, and that interaction with the chosen one. I think the stats on the card are maybe where I'd have an issue with it. Like, it just gets Light's Levy, which is okay. And the 1 armor is going to be difficult to deal with if you're up against a zoo deck or whatever. But it's just, I think the stats are just slightly lacking, and that's what makes the card bad, as opposed to the actual effect, which I like. So,
does anyone know that there's that card that gives all creatures in your hand or all creatures on the board ward for 2, and then you draw another card? I wonder if you could do something Sanctify. I wonder if you could do something with like, so for me, I would just run Cadmos with Asterius, you know? That's probably like the way that I would go with it. And then maybe try even running, I don't know if a spell that gives ward is valuable or if you just run enough ward creatures, but yeah, I guess you're right. There is some risk there, but you kind of have to keep the 2 strength synergy going with the deck type. I mean, you don't have to, but it is getting in a weird kind of zone of like, it's 2 attack or it's 2 strength to synergize with Asterius or the overall light synergy, but at the same time, kind of, it doesn't have ward and it opens itself up for a lot of counterplay, like a lot. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one either. We'll have to see if someone can figure it out. But yeah, last one for us, and then we can move on to the next god. This is going to be CERN, the moderator, with a giant banhammer. So what are your thoughts on the 4/3 4 cost? After a creature is healed, draw a card, roar, inflict order 3 on an enemy creature, and heal each friendly character for 2, which doesn't fit on the card.
Super busted.
I'm waiting for the professor moderator card and see if they can make it even stronger than this. But yeah, this is very strong. You're adding stats, an ability, and the fact that you draw tons of cards on the Wetlands Ogre, another solid card to begin with. So yeah, this is way too strong.
People are playing Holy Enchanter right now. Imagine playing Holy Enchanter when you have access to this thing. And the Holy Enchanter is good half the time. Yeah. This card's just, 2 more attack, 2 more cards drawn, and your opponent's creature can't attack next turn. What were they thinking?
My issue with this is what it does to High Thaumaturge, which is Genesis epic card, I think. And, you're getting a similar effect from that, but, the stats on it are terrible to make up for the, drawing a card every time a character is healed, which is insanely strong in light. So, baking all of that into this card, you would never ever run that again. And it's too good.
Oh my God. Somebody in the chat just hit me with why aren't people playing CERN the moderator and then divine judgmenting the thing that it hits? That's actually kind of insane.
It is a legend, so it's more difficult to pull that synergy off reliably.
I mean, if you have a couple things that give order, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
With the dog, maybe.
This card doesn't need that type of combos. It's just solid enough.
It doesn't need it, yeah. Could work, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's cherry on the top of the ice cream cake.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it does give you that potential synergy to open up with, like, you can use it with Divine Judgment, to get that obliterate to proc. So it's like the card would be played all the time anyways, but in a specific case where you need to counter something specifically, it just kind of adds to your capability to do that. And I think there's some value there. All right.
True. All these light cards actually, concerns me about the changes being made to ward, because these, dishing out order, not popping ward is really quite strong now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. A little bit scared.
Yeah, I actually have been I've been thinking that light is going to be something I rotate back into when this set releases. Yeah, luckily I have the Highborn Knights and all that stuff, but I just think with the ward changes and some of these new cards we're seeing, I do think that light is going to have a pretty solid spot. I don't know about the control archetype, but I think that, with the type of decks we've already seen, it's going to be pretty viable. Let's go ahead and move into Magic. Our first card for Magic is the Labyrinth Guard. This is
might be able to skip this one actually.
Okay,
it's really bad.
I don't know. I think that Krumpy told me about this one, and yeah, let's just hear what if anyone has any quick comments on it. What are your thoughts there?
I think it's just a big wall, and I don't know. I played around with Structure Magic a bit in the PTR. And this just helps it a lot. The fact that it's a structure is is just helpful at protecting your snowstorm spires and all kinds of other stuff. I think adding armor to a phalanx guard that can't attack makes it half decent in a structure deck. Yeah, I think it's all right.
I think Magic has better things to do at 6, personally, but I mean, it's okay. Kind of like how Minotaur Phalanx was okay, but if you're not free to play, then I don't really know what you're doing with this card, to be honest.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think in the structure deck it might make more sense than Minotaur Phalanx, but outside of the structure deck, probably won't see play. Let's go ahead and move to the next one. This is Ghost Form. This is a 2-cost magic spell. Pick one, give order +10 to a creature in your hand, or draw a card.
Pick one, and giving... This just looks terrible. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know. I haven't been able to experiment with it. I mean, giving order to creatures as I was talking about, spell boost, structure magic, or anything like that can be quite helpful. At the end of the day, you can use it as a 2-mana draw a card, which isn't bad, but not great either. So I guess it depends what you're going for.
Every single creature that wants order already comes with order. And we have a card called Vow of Champions that has 3 modes better than give +10 order to a creature in your hand plus draw a card. So it's completely unplayable.
The only card that doesn't have order that wants it is actually the Rune Moth. But outside of doing a deck where it's kind of like, I'm thinking like Rod of Rodents, Rune Moth, and Onaru Spellsword, and you can either cast Ghost Form on the Onaru Spellsword or the Rune Moth, which is probably still terrible. That's the only thing I can think of.
It still dies to Orpheo's Deception. Your 2-card combo dies to a God Power and Blast Wave, for that matter. It's Mage Bolt now. But yeah, it's
not good.
It's highly conditional, and this shouldn't see play.
Got you. All right, let's move to this next one. This one, Magnetic Blast is remove all armor from a creature, deal X +1 damage to the creature, where X is the amount of armor removed.
So I thought this was awful, and it still isn't great, but I did end up running a structure magic with one of this card, for using on stuff like Bronze Gate or any other. You can even throw in the Skeletal Hoplite, which is the 1-mana 1/1 with 1 armor. And you can just strip armor off your own creatures to dish damage to the rest of the board. So it can be used as a bit of a control tech, but it's a bit fringe for my taste. It was used against me once, and it was really effective. And I was like, whoa, we're going to try this out. And then I tried it, and I was like, that's a bit too situational for me. So it was cool, though.
This comes back to a point I made earlier with one of the light cards. For a tournament setting, if you know your opponent's going to be playing a deck with a lot of armor, having this in as tech is strong. Against general ladder play, I think it's just going to be too situational to run unless the meta is insanely heavy with armor stuff.
Yep, I agree with that. Good tech, worse than Star Shard Bolt and Tracking Bolt in general.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is the Pillar of Lightning. It is a 2-cost 0/2 structure with order 10. Give a friendly creature. After a friendly creature takes damage, deal 1 damage to the weakest enemy creature.
This doesn't look good to me.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I think it's just a card that you're going to run in structure magic deck. That's it. It's decent in that capacity, but otherwise, you're not. Yeah, that's all I've got to say.
I don't really have anything to say on this one. It's just bad.
So
It's just blast wave, but bad.
yeah, I was gonna say though, with what's the card that deals what the choose two, and you can deal 1 damage to all creatures. If you have, say, like this and one other structure on the board, and it's not, it hasn't taken damage yet, you could potentially like use it somewhat as a board clear by proccing it from the damage to all creatures. But yeah, I don't know. Still pretty fringe. I don't think it's gonna be too played. Let's look at the next one. This is the Miraculous Familiar. I absolutely love the card art here. It almost looks exactly like a Magic the Gathering card. But this is a 3/3 for 3 Aether. It is blessed, and after you play your first spell each turn, add a random spell to your hand.
This reminds me of a certain card in Nature. The question is whether or not you're going to be able to stick this or not. Since Magic is a little bit difficult time sticking minions, I see this being very fringe at best. And even if you're able to stick this, you still have to cast a spell a turn to get value out of it, and you're getting random spells. So I don't know. It's fringe at best.
With Palace's genius, like somebody's gonna try it, and it's gonna work like one time when it generates a Inferno or something like that. But I don't really like most of these 3-minute 3/3s with Blessed. This one's at least good because with Palace's Genius, you can kind of coin out the 1-mana spell and get another free spell for free. Yeah, the free spell's free. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
I think it's a good addition to an Aether Magic sort of aggro-ish deck where you, throwing something like this out. The Blessed effect will help. I think Mudman was actually running an Aether Magic deck with a couple of these in it and doing quite well. So I haven't had the chance to play with it myself yet, but the Aether tag keeps things interesting in this aspect.
Yeah. And someone in chat was saying summary that the new set is trash, and I would say if you just got here, you probably showed up for the beginning of Magic, and so far these Magic cards have not been too impressive. But let's see, we're going to be moving into some of the more powerful ones here. The next one is, well, I don't know about this one, but the next one is Defend the Ramparts. Oh, I think this one is actually pretty strong. This is a deal 2 damage to 2 different enemy creatures. If you control a structure, deal 3 damage instead for 3. Any thoughts here?
6 damage for 3 mana. It is not hard to have structures on the board anymore for Magic. It's strong. Staple for structure Magic. That's it.
Conditional at best. They have to have 2 minions on board. You have to have a structure to get the maximum value out of it. I don't know. I think that targeted removal is better for Magic than this random stuff. So I'm less excited about this card.
Is it?
It's targeted.
Targeted? Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't say random, but it just has 2 different.
I thought it said random. It's still. I mean, for 2 mana, you can deal 4 damage guaranteed to 1 target, and this is 3 mana. That's going to either do 4 or 6, depending on the conditions. It's okay, I guess, but I don't know. I think Magic has a lot of better options.
I think this one's like, it's just unclear enough for me that like it might be playable. Doesn't seem overwhelmingly powerful at first. Doesn't even seem underwhelmingly powerful. It just seems very, very balanced. I think we'll probably see this as maybe a one of in some decks. Maybe Control Magic plays it as a one of at some point. But it's definitely not bad. And it's really good in Structure Magic. So
the other thing you need to consider with Structure Magic is Spell Boost. And I think we'll get to that with the next few cards as well. Like Spell Boost getting out of hand makes all of these cards insane. So yeah, something to keep in mind.
Let's jump into the next one then on that topic. It is the Snowstorm Spire. This is a 5-cost structure, 0/4, order 10. At the end of your turn, give ward to your god and spell boost 1 to this creature.
I mean, it seems slow to me, but that's just my first instinct. It's a 5 mana 0/4. It dies to a lot of removal. And I mean, maybe you can get some value out of it if it sticks around for a bit. But I don't know. This seems slow.
Yeah, this is a
Lion,
3-mana card to me.
Are you able to chuck up the card? What is it? The 2 mana from the set that gives ward to every creature in your hand.
Did we cut that one? I thought
We skipped it.
Oh, okay.
You jumped it.
Oh, what was the name of that one? My apologies. Not like this.
Safeguard Incantation.
1 second. I have this setting on Windows that I don't know where it's at, but sometimes when I pull up a certain window, it will minimize all of my other windows, and I don't know why it happens. That's going back. And last one, where's the... Okay, this is... You said it was Safeguard? Safeguard Incantation. Let me pull that one up right now. Yeah, so this is a 2-cost, draw a card, give ward to each creature in your hand.
Yeah, so I really like that card in itself. But throwing ward on Snowstorm Spire, which gives you your god ward at the end of every turn as well. It's a lot of ward. It is slow, but if you can't deal with this, the moment spell boost starts pushing 3, 4, 5 spell boost, Palace's Genius just becomes the most broken god power in existence, and every magic spell becomes game ending. So I played around with Destruction Magic, and having 2 of these in there, it was just it's a game winning card in itself. Again, we're gonna need to see the matchups with things like Light that can obliterate cards with order. You know, it's a pretty hard counter to that kind of deck. But if you're up against frenzy aggro decks that you're able to keep under control, this card's just gonna win the game when you get to your face damage.
Or you'll be dead when you play it. It just seems very slow.
Yeah, but if you haven't played Structure Magic in the PTR, I'd highly recommend it. This with stuff like Defend the Ramparts, and there's one mana face damage spells that you're drawing from Palace's Genius and from your deck and from all other sources. Spell boost, once it gets too high, is really, really damn scary, and I think it's going to need to be looked at.
Yo, let's go ahead and move into this next one. I'm sorry, we do have a lot of cards to get through still. I was just looking at them. So this one is Vow of Learning. It is a 3-cost magic spell that also doesn't fit on the card. It is pick 2 different options, deal 1 damage, deal 2 damage to a creature, give protected to a creature, and give ward to a creature.
You're going to time out trying to figure out what you're doing with this card. You're just going to confuse yourself. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, this is a counter Lion card. You put 4 options on one card, you know I'm roping.
Yeah.
In theory, you can deal 1 damage, and can you deal 2 damage to the same creature? So 3 mana to deal 3 to a target. Or you have the option of protected and ward. I think it can be okay, situational, but too much thought.
It's going to be sitting in the same sort of realm as any other, pick card. You're essentially losing value because of your ability to pick the effect. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with changes to ward again. Giving protected and ward to a creature is going to be pretty massive, I think. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that option plays out, rather than just looking at the damage aspect of it. Giving ward and protected can be pretty crazy.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Alymere.
Go. I was just gonna say versatility always comes at the cost of power, and unfortunately, most of the time you have to tone down all the modes so that you don't end up with a combo that's just ridiculously good. I think this card's just it suffers the same fate as every modal card with more than 2 options, and it's just not quite good enough.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say though is it's very aesthetically pleasing. I like the symmetry and the colors in the card art, so +1 on that. But yeah, probably not going to see too much play. Let's move into the next one. It's our last 2 in Magic. This one is something we saw a lot of combos with. This is Demetrios Playwright, and it is a 2-cost 1/1 Mystic. Order 10, roar, add a final draft to your hand. At the start of your turn, upgrade your final drafts.
OP.
I love Demetrios.
Yeah, it's a cool card. Cool design. The final drafts are great. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
this card strikes me as very strong, but like everyone is going to get upset if they nerf it. So I feel like we're looking at the final version here, and my God, is it good?
I mean, even if your opponent has an answer, you play this as a 2-mana 1/1 with ward. They spend a card to kill it. 2-mana 1/1 with order. And then you still get a card that deals 1 damage and draws a card. That's the best case scenario for your opponent. And this can just snowball if they don't have an answer. It's just way overpowered.
Yeah.
Not the strongest 2-drop legendary in the set, in my opinion, though. We'll catch the other one later.
All right, let's jump to the next card. We have these. I love this one. I love this card so much. This is the Scepter of Artistry. This is a 3-cost 0/3 relic for Magic, and its ability is give spell boost 2 and order 3 to a friendly creature, then remove 1 durability from this relic.
I can see this getting out of hand in certain combo decks. I haven't figured out a way to make it work, but this could end up getting nerfed.
Effectively hiding a creature. Well, I mean, order's a bit different. Again, is going to struggle against those light spells. But giving spell boost +2 to anything is pretty big, and that structure Magic deck, it's really makes use of this.
Hey guys, you remember when I said Snowstorm Spire but 3 mana? I summoned it into existence. This card's pretty good. I think all the scepters are very strong. It's a good word. That word's in the name of the card. It's just going to be good. 3 mana for spell boost 4 over 2 turns is just good.
Yeah, I'm not going to be upset if I pack one of these in Diamond. Let's put it that way.
Oh my gosh. I really, really like the card. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to be moving into nature now. Are you guys okay if I skip the giant pangolin? We yes. did that one last time. Let's talk though about the Moonbeam. This is a 3-cost nature spell that deals 3 damage to a random enemy creature, and if you're frenzied, it also refreshes 3 mana.
3 damage seems good.
It's conditional. It reminds me of the 3-mana 4/2 Jaguar. It's in Genesis. I forget its name. That refreshes 2 mana. It just never saw play because it's just so awkward and conditional. And that's what this card reminds me of. Awkward and conditional.
Yeah, you stole my comparison. This card's bad. I hate cards that deal damage to random enemy creatures have to be extremely strong to see play. And 3 mana for... or sometimes 0 mana for 3 damage to a random enemy creature just doesn't seem that good, especially in an aggro nature deck where like every card has to provide value because you have no way to draw cards. I just don't think this is where you want to be.
Yeah, you can just run Lightning Strike, call it a day, get your value. But yeah, let's move to the next one. We have the Crescent Werewolf. This card is super cool. I don't know about super playable, but I feel like there might be some combo synergy here. It is a 2/2 wild 2-drop for nature that says after you summon another wild creature, refresh 1 mana.
It's cool. I immediately think of playing Best Friends with it, and you're refreshing, or you're playing a -1 cost Best Friends. So I think there's some cool wild synergies to be done with it. It's a 2 mana 2/2. The issue with these refresh things is you just end up running out of cards in your hand, and if your opponent wipes you, then that's it. It's GG. So, yeah, I think it'll see play, but I don't think it'll be like amazing. We'll see.
I don't think this sees any play. It's just, it strikes me as a card that would be good if Wild had the whole big stats for low mana thing to itself, but every single deck can play Skeleton Heavy, every single deck can play Pyramid Warden. This card doesn't affect either of those. So that's like, if you're playing Crescent Werewolf, there's 6 2-drops, and you really want this thing to hit 2 or 3 drops. So it hits Jaguar, it hits Underbrush Boar, but it's not enough in my opinion.
What do you think about its synergy with Bladefly? Would this make after you summon wouldn't this make Bladefly 1 mana?
It would still cost 4 mana to cast it. It's just this card is just so conditional at best, and you're asking to stick this card a 2/2 for a turn before you play Bladefly, and your opponent's going to want to remove this from the board, and usually 2/2s are not hard to remove from the board. To me, this is just an understated minion that shouldn't see play in top tier decks.
I think Muse nailed it before about that awkward mana refresh sort of synergy, like with the Revenant Links and Moonbeam. It's just that, it's that little bit awkward, and the stats aren't great. So you think, well, why would I put this in over a Pyramid Warden or a Skeleton Heavy?
Yeah, this seems like something that really easily just gets smashed by Enduring Shield for fun. It's like it just doesn't have enough stats. I think they should really look at making this a 2/3 at minimum. But let's move to the next one. We have the Starving Sabertooth. This is a 4/5 for 4 wild. After the creature attacks a creature, if you are frenzied, gain +1 regen.
I mean, it's solid 4 mana, 4/5 stats. It's got an ability, so Wetlands Ogre is very playable. This has the wild tag. It's not broken or OP by any means, but it's solid.
I think it's tough because it competes with a lot at that 4 mana slot in in your aggro wild decks. You've got Blade Flyers, which if you're running something like Wildfire or Trial of the Hydra, going wide is going to be better than going tall in that instance. You might run this over. I would probably run this over Overgrown Rhino though. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, that was
throw it on the pile of nature 4-drops.
True. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like this is something that it gives you the option, like if you're not going to be playing Confused Gloam, you throw this in and you go more of the Trial of the Hydra, and it just gives you more of an option for those to be 2 separate decks instead of the exact same list. So I kind of like that, but we'll see how it goes. Moving on to the next one, we have Moonlight Charm. Does anyone feel strongly about talking about this one?
I ran this and I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah, so just to let everyone know, it's a 1/3 relic for 3. At the end of your turn, if you are frenzied, give +2/+2 to your strongest creature and -1 durability to this relic. So I do think if you're not frenzied, nothing happens, right?
Yeah, it's slow. For that, if you're looking for that frenzied wild kind of synergy, it's too slow for that. But when it does go off, it turns your Overgrown Rhino into a 7/7. So yeah, it's too slow for me, but I ran one of them in a wild synergy deck just to try it, and when it worked, it was pretty cool.
Maybe in a mid-range deck, this could work. When you look at this card, at best, it's a 3 mana card that adds +6/+6 in stats, which is actually pretty nice. That being said, is it practical to get it to work? I'm not 100% sure on that. It have to require a lot of playtesting to see if this is actually viable.
Yeah, I think one card, we're going to talk about this card a little bit later, but Finian, I think potentially running a deck with it's like a lot of cheap creatures with Finian could work. But yeah, we'll see. I think let's keep moving through these. The next one is the Moon. This one's super cool. The Moon Crazed Cyclops. This is a 4-cost 2/2 confused. At the end of your turn, give 1/1 to this creature. But if you are frenzied, give it +2/+2 instead. Maybe like the art, but not the card.
It has snowball potential, but I mean, usually you're going to play it on turn you're frenzied, so it's a 4-mana 4/4, which is an understated minion. If your opponent can deal with it then it's really not great. It's only really strong if your opponent is very far behind, so it almost feels like a win more situation.
Yeah, I would say that summarizes it pretty well. It's like, I mean, just looking at that rare card, the Starving Sabertooth we were talking about earlier, is that not that just kind of better than this? Just way less potential downside and risk, and you can start pumping it with regen. I don't know if I play this, but the card art is dope.
If we were talking about the 4-mana slot being busy, then yeah, this probably doesn't quite fit in anywhere, I'd say. But yeah, love the art.
Yeah, it does not fit in. So yeah, definitely back to the drawing board on this one, I think. Next card is Sudden, not Rally, but Sudden Bloom. This is a pretty sweet card. This is 6-cost nature spell. Give a random friendly creature +5/+5. If you are frenzied, also give it Overkill and Twin Strike. So really heavy on the frenzy there.
It's a huge win more card, basically.
Yeah, they just hate letting nature players make their own decisions. Like, why does they say random? Just let me target. It's not even that good if I can target, and it's even worse when I can't. Like, I'm never playing this.
I mean, Red Fume Serum has always been kind of a borderline inclusion for aggro war decks, and I think that this it falls into a similar line of that. I actually got this off of Larceny during my weekend rank this weekend and finished somebody off with it. So that's one data point for it. But I don't think I would run this in any of my decks.
Yeah, I think maybe if you're going to keep the card the way that it's spelled out right now, bring this down to 5-cost. But still, it just doesn't feel great. I mean, Overkill and Twin Strike, maybe this is supposed to be for more of like single big creatures. But I don't know. Nature just seems to like to go wide and buff everything. Like with Trial of the Hydra and Gloam Druid and all those synergies, it's like, at what point does this 6-cost random buff with Twin Strike and Overkill, like when does that gain value, see play, etc.? So kind of weird. But let's go to the last card in Nature, and this is a fun one. This is Finian Fruitbearer. The nature hero of the set. This is a 2/3 for 2 legendary creature. After this creature attacks, deal 1 damage to the enemy god. At the end of your turn, if you are frenzied, summon a 1/1 Vibrant Fruit.
I think this was the card Alymere was talking about, the strongest 2-drop in the set. This does feel a bit busted. You play it on a turn that you're frenzied, and you're already getting 2/3 and a 1/1, and that 1/1 buffs another creature 1/1, so you almost 4/5 stats immediately for 2 mana. This seems very strong.
If you get the Vibrant Fruit, this card has more stats than Pyramid Warden. It's going to be, it's going to be changed. Like, there's no way. This card, if you coin on 1 and it doesn't die, your odds of winning the game are like 80%.
Yeah, it's super crazy strong. And some people in chat are saying something like, I wouldn't say the strongest 2-drop. And, if Deception steals it, then they're going to get your Vibrant Fruit and whatever. But, you're looking at fringe cases. This thing, it can attack creatures and still get you frenzied and get the Vibrant Fruit. Like, there is so much going for this card, and I love it, but I think it needs to be toned down a little. I think we'll see that.
If the top ability didn't exist, it would still be ridiculously overpowered.
I think that's what they need to do with this card is remove the top text from it. It's just too strong. Yeah.
They need to remove the bottom text from it, and I don't know, maybe add an extra health.
I agree with that, actually. I think even if you don't have the top text, it's still more stats than Pyramid Warden.
I love the like kind of the effect in the Vibrant Fruit. I really do like that a lot. So liking the effect just so much that you break the meta isn't really a viable way to build card games, though. So I do hear you on those. I think that you're probably right.
Hear me out here. Make it a blessed 3-mana 3/3.
Make it a 1/1 with the same ability, and it's still playable. Not great, but playable.
Got you. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna skip over these neutral cards. Let's do war, and then we'll come back to neutral. So, we're almost done here. We have, what is this? This is the last god, and then we have a couple neutral cards. So we're probably gonna go like 15 minutes over time. But let's go ahead and get into it. This is the Spoils of War. This is a 1-cost war spell. Pull a random creature from your deck into your hand, and if you are frenzied, give it +1/+1.
I thought I vetoed this card. I just think it's stupid.
It's bad. We can skip it.
Okay. So we have the Revered Seer. This is at the end of your turn. This is a 3/3 Viking. At the end of your turn, give +1/+1 to a random creature in your hand. If you are frenzied, also give it +1/+1. Also give +1/+1 to each of the creatures on the board.
How did this make it past the drawing board? This is so stupidly busted, and it makes me angry.
Yeah. Yep. It's really good. They're really, really pushing Vikings as an archetype. Vikings got like 4 insane cards, including the most powerful card in the entire set. So Vikings is going to be disgusting. And if Enduring Shield does not see a nerf by the time the set comes out, 80% of the meta will be Enduring Shield Viking aggro.
Mm.
And this fits perfectly in that meta as well.
Yeah, if you are frenzied, this is a 4-mana 4/4 because it gives it the buff to each of your creatures on the board, +1/+1 to a random creature in your hand. Not to mention, it doesn't just give the buff to Vikings. This buffs your Pyramid Wardens, all your other all creatures. It's insane. It's broken. If you're packing this and it's going for megabucks, sell that because that's financial advice because this needs a nerf.
Oh my god. You heard it here first. You can sue Krumpy if it's bad.
Not financial advice. All right. So the next card on the list, let's just get right into it. They just decided they were going to print more broken stuff for war. Apparently Enduring Shield wasn't good enough, so we have the Inspiring Scald. This is a 2/3 2/2 Viking that's roar, give +1/+1 to a random creature in your hand. Also, if you're frenzied, give it Twin Strike.
2 mana, effectively 3/4 stats. Might even add a Twin Strike to something. It's a Viking as well, so
I am waiting for the Tartessian Improviser into Inspiring Scald into Coin, Revered Seer, and just the game is over on turn 3.
Yeah. As opposed to some of the other Viking cards, I like this card. I like the design of it. It's too strong. Like it would fit nicely as maybe a 2/2 or something. You're not giving stuff Blitz, you're giving it Twin Strike, but now we've still got Onslaught, so
reverse the buffs. Give Twin Strike. If frenzied, give 1/1. Balanced.
Hey, I like that. Dan, take notes.
Yeah, Dan, there you go. We fixed your card.
All right. I actually think you want to talk to Video James on these ones, but let's go to the next one. I think we did talk about this before. Do you guys still want to talk about Cage Berserker again, maybe even briefly?
OP, that's all I gotta say.
It's It's actually the least strong Viking, which is insane because it's so disgusting. Like,
yeah, I think they really just like, I don't like, I know that control used to be overpowered, but like what's going on with war right now? It's just like questionable, highly questionable. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, this is basically the onslaught. I guess, wait, it's but it has blitz, so you don't even have to have onslaught for this thing to be an absolute terror. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. The next card is the Tartessian Minotaur. I don't know if I remember this one. This is a 5-cost 3/4 roar, give +2 strength to your other Olympians, and if you're frenzied, also give them overkill. And it is Olympian. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, I totally looked past this one. I didn't give Olympian War a chance in the PTR, but this seems like a cool card for that Olympian synergy. It's similar to the Black Argo, if anyone else is familiar with the Genesis card. But giving all your Olympians overkill is pretty crazy at 5 mana.
I mean,
gotta
you
surrender
compare
my
this
time
to
on
the
this one.
power level of other war cards. It's just terrible.
Yeah, my words on this one are it's not that great.
Gotcha.
It had blitz, maybe.
The fact that you have to prop the frenzy before playing this, so you're throwing damage out before you can potentially give it 2 strength, makes it slightly awkward. The overkill gives it board clear potential though, so
Yeah,
But you have to be playing Olympian War, and that's doesn't seem like it's going to be a thing in this meta. If I were to bet on that,
yeah, not with Vikings the way they are. Why would you play Olympians over Vikings ever?
Yeah, I think I'll be holding off on buying Odysseus for now. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the really fun ones. This next one is Thundercaller. This is a epic Viking 3/3 for 3. At the end of your turn, if you're frenzied, give +1/+1 to each of your Vikings.
this has to be nerfed.
Oh my god.
You play this frenzied. It not only is a 3-mana 4/4 itself, which is super strong, it has the snowball potential and it buffs your entire board of Vikings. This card and another card that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later are completely busted.
Yeah, this card is gross. Like this whole entire deck type that they made, like it's cool to have synergies, but it just feels so forced. They're like, these are the way that you play these cards together, and then like you win the game type thing, and it's just, I don't know. Next one we're going to talk about real quick.
Honestly, while we have this up, we might as well just talk about Rolling Thunder and how it's busted.
Yeah,
I thought I should mention that.
That's the next one. So yeah, this one is summon 2/3/3 Thundercallers, and if you're frenzied, summon 4 instead.
This card says 6 mana win the game.
Pretty much. It's the strongest card in the set, in my opinion. It needs to be nerfed. It has to be.
This card is better than Demogorgon.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking here. Like when this thing goes off, like if playing against this deck, it's just a timer. Like it's you just play the game until this goes off and then you lose the game. And like luckily in the time I was able to play against it, I was playing Death and I was able to use like burst spells to get them down. But it was like 1 turn longer and it was over. So
I think something I thought about for nerfing both of these cards with Thundercaller is to make the buff to each of your other Vikings, so it's not buffing itself. That said, I think Rolling Thunder just needs to be straight up changed because it's broken insane. But I think Thundercaller's quite a strong card, or it's a very strong card. It is an epic, but instead of nerfing the stats or the text, you could simply make it not buff itself, and then it might be a little more reasonable, you know?
We moved on before I could bring it up. But Nether Swarm Lord, we know they're intentionally trying to push Vikings because Nether Swarm Lord says other creatures give other friendly Nethers +1/+1. So I think the change, this might make it manageable. If you change Thundercaller to only buff other creatures, and you make Rolling Thunder only summon 3, then potentially it's not overpowered. Still might be, though.
See, the problem is even if you change the text to other Vikings, if you play Rolling Thunder, you get 4 6-mana 6/6s. Or
I'm saying it needs to summon 3 instead.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
In addition to the Thundercaller nerf.
And I think that's like bare minimum. I think that you start there and then see like cards are so blatantly overpowered, and it's just like, how do you look at this? How do you put this on top of the god that just got Enduring Shield, and then also why has Enduring Shield not been changed? It's just like we're just pushing so far out of any sort of like reasonable balance here that it does concern me. So I hope the team takes that seriously, because yeah, I'm still giving them some time to fix the Enduring Shield thing, but if they end up coming up with some conclusion that Enduring Shield is fine, like we're in trouble. So let's
this card gives 56 stats for 6 mana. Just so anybody who's new to a card game like understands why this is overpowered. The average amount of stats you get for 1 mana is like 3, and this gives 56 stats for 6 mana.
Maybe someone missed a decimal point on the original Excel sheet that they created. I don't know. That's absurd. All right, the next one is Audi. This is Audi Valka's Herald. This is a 3-cost 3/2 Viking, backline protected. Whenever this creature attacks your opponent's god, reduce a random highest mana cost creature in your hand by 1.
I can see this being very strong in Onslaught.
Yeah, why does it have backline? I don't get it.
Yeah, even if even if you're not making use of, say, trying to reduce the cost of a 9-mana card like an Agrios or Valka, you can use this to reduce the cost of Demogorgons or whatever highest cost creature you have in your hand at the time. It's then backline and protected and a 3/2 for 3 mana. It's just got a lot going for it.
Yeah, definitely a cool card. I'm excited to see if people do end up coming up with a way to reduce like the high cost creatures. I think that's probably where the backline comes from, is just being able to keep it alive. But you would have to like, we wouldn't be able to see the traditional Onslaught deck protect this, right? Like even with backline, the backline doesn't help it in that case. Maybe they're just thinking, let's give this an ability to be played in something other than Onslaught when they do remove the Onslaught God Power, because that's what everyone wants. So yeah, I think if there's nothing else, I'm gonna move on to the next one.
One more thing. This card is a straight power creep on that mana 3/2 with protected that I forgot the name of. That card's fringe playable, and this card has backline and reduces the cost of creatures in your hand. So that's yeah.
Yeah, this is playable in aggro decks. It's not even necessary to control.
I think it's an aggro card, and it's a ridiculously good one at that because it's a Viking.
Yeah. Speaking, that card was the Raid Reveler. That's the welcome set, I'm pretty sure. But
there you go.
Yeah. So let's go to this next one. This one is pretty sweet. I mean, how do you not like the card art on this one? But this is Anagrios, Demon Prince. It is a 9-cost 12/7 God Blitz. God Blitz. When this creature destroys another creature, obliterate it instead, and roar deals 6 damage to each enemy creature. I don't know if it's good, but it's epic.
GU wants the game to be done once you get to 9. So
that's
they do. The primary goal.
Yeah, I hate what that does to Genesis 9-drops as well, or a lot of the other 9-drops in the game, where you're just not going to play any of them over something like this that can deal 12 damage to face on the turn that it's played. Like that's crazy.
I don't even think this card's better than most other 9-drops. It's just awesome.
I mean, there's another 9-drop that's neutral that we'll get to later that's a lot better than this,
Very soon.
my opinion. But I mean, this is still a fun card. I've played it off of Jason before, and opponents don't win when you play it.
I did just want to bring up the Audi, the card that we were just talking about here a second ago. If you could use Audi to reduce this thing, and maybe even, I guess you're kind of trying to race to 9, right? So maybe Audi in conjunction with, I don't know if you're trying to race to 9, but I'm just thinking of some ways that you could use like the counter, the mana, like remove a mana crystal from an opponent while also reducing this, and just try to get your 9 drop out first. I don't think you ever beat Ramp Magic, but it's a thought.
Dan, while we've got you here, can we give this thing overkill just for thematic purposes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it needs that, obviously. Dealing 6 overkill to everything on the board isn't enough.
It also needs armor 6, protected.
Okay.
Oh, and Twin Strike. Don't forget your Twin Strike.
We're getting there.
Okay, so clearly a really cool, like this card is actually legendary. The art's great, very thematic, cool card. So let's get back into the neutrals. This has to be everybody's favorite card of the new set. It's the Bronze Gate. Let's give it up for the Bronze Gate, everyone. I know you played it.
I don't even think people would be mad if Anagrios was the mythic card from this set.
It's actually more exciting of a card than the current mythic.
I agree. Yeah. All right, Bronze Gate.
This is boring. It's basically just Pyramid Warden except stronger.
What? You think this is better than Pyramid Warden?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Well, it can't attack, but it also doesn't give your opponent a creature. So it depends on what you're doing with Pyramid Warden. Pyramid Warden's better in an aggro list, but if you're using Pyramid Warden as like a frontline unit and against aggro, then this is probably more valuable to you.
I just don't like it. I don't like the structure, the power creep on the, barbed portcullis. This is just, the armor makes it difficult to deal with. It's neutral, so you can play it in everything. It's super strong in light. It just wrecks any kind of sort of creature-focused zoo deck, I guess. It's just, and even the art is basically exactly the same. So, I think there's the opportunity to bring in new sets and bring in awesome, new, and interesting cards, and this is not one of them, and it's too strong.
Yeah, I don't like the obvious power creep and how they just stole the artwork from the card they were power creeping.
Yeah. Minimum effort, minimum amount of effort, maximum amount of damage.
Man, you guys really hate this card. I think it's like they needed one playable structure that was like cut and dry. This is it. I don't think it's better than Pyramid Warden. I definitely think it's good. I do think that Control needs some like early game creature based something or other, because all the board wipes have been nerfed into oblivion, all the 6 mana ones. I just don't think it's like quite overpowered. I think it's just like good. And the card at power creeped was useless, so it's fine.
What I don't like is that they've gone this direction with stuff like zombies. Your zombie deck just is completely wrecked by armor. So I don't like that they've put this sort of cool new playstyle in the game and then thrown a Bronze Gate in it that makes it totally useless.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, like how about
thematically though?
Yeah, like here's the thing though. It's like how about if you're going to make this, just so clearly better, can we just bring the health down so that way it can be killed? Like, is the purpose of Bronze Gate to counter death? Like, and you put it in neutral? Like, maybe take this card and put it into the deck that you're trying to give that tool set to. But to make this neutral, like, I don't see how this can stay as neutral and have 4 health. I think you have to reduce it to 3. I mean, I don't know. It's not a very fun card, to be honest. It just kind of, you can just throw it in anything, and I don't know. With the armor and its ability to slow down tempo for aggro, I'm not sure what the purpose of this is. I don't like the card. All right.
All right.
So next card is the Beam Sentry. I guess we did not. my vote was vetoed.
Oh, Beam Sentry.
Everybody loves the Beam Sentry, I guess. So let's hear what are the thoughts on the Beam Sentry?
This card sucks, but Rolling Thunder exists, so it's awesome. That's all I got.
Poor man's swashbuckler.
You got both. You can play both, bro.
All right, Krumpy, what you got?
Yeah. No, I just like the Atlanteans. But then again, Atlanteans don't get any synergy from Frenzied, so yeah, it's all right.
Mediocre. All right, next one is the Ogre Warlock. This card is so sweet. This is a 4-cost 3/3 neutral mystic, and it has ward, and its roar is give +X to this creature, where X is your spell boost.
So this doesn't have to be a neutral card. You can just already call it a magic card, because what other class is going to run this? Highly situational. Maybe if you had an insane amount of spell boost, you could get this to work, but you really need to have a minimum of 2 spell boosts to get positive value out of this.
I don't think that's that difficult. I think you
Yeah.
got your 3-mana weapon. You got your 4-mana 5/5. Magic's kind of set up pretty well to have some aggressive magic. You know, you got the Metrios, you got your new hero power that gives you some spells. You just play a couple spell damage dudes, Street Conjurer, that kind of stuff. And, you know, half the time this thing's a 4-mana 5/5. Maybe sometimes it's a 4/4, but, you know, and then the other half, it's like a 6/6. It's just pretty good.
Yeah, I threw this on top of the structure mage. You know, you basically putting out a fairly high statted boarded creature. You know, you've got spell boost there to boost it, but at the same time you're boosting your face damage spells as well. It all works really well together, and I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I think having a card that's like an Ogre Warlock, like just thematically, an Ogre Warlock that, you know, gets stronger based off the spell boost. I just love the whole concept of this card, and I'm going to be trying really hard to make it work. I don't know if it'll be good, but I really like the card. So our very final card, this is the one everybody has been waiting for. We actually saw a sneak preview of this on FakeMews Ranked Weekend Run yesterday. For anyone who was there that caught that, this is Polyhymnia, the Aetheric Hydra. It is a 9-cost neutral Aether 3/12 frontline protected. Ward, regen 6, armor 6. At the end of your turn, give protected and ward to your god and to this creature.
It's like they threw everything at it. They were just like, let's make a 9-cost that has literally everything on it.
I'm disappointed it doesn't have Leech, Goblets, and Twin Strike.
Or Overkill.
But basically, this is the best neutral 9-drop in the game. Probably the best 9-drop in the game, period. It's insane. Basically, GU is saying end the game before 9. Otherwise, if you and your opponent just sit there with these, and the game will last 50 turns, and you won't even kill each other through fatigue, because you will give yourself protected every turn. So
the only thing go finish up.
You basically could have games just go infinite.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing stopping this from being as good as having a literal Nether player playing a Nether deck on your team is the fact that it can't cast spells, but it also can't die, so it's pretty good. I mean, unkillable 9-drop with frontline and protected and ward and regen and armor. You know.
Yeah. Also, it gives your god ward and protected every single turn, so death trying to finish you off might have difficulties.
Something's got to give with this card, I think. I mean, I think the protected and ward every single turn can go. That's just a step too far.
So here's something that I'm gonna say. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The fatigue mechanic needs to be changed. I've offered this solution for at least the last 3 months I've been talking about this off and on. But fatigue damage should tick 1 damage at a time, and it should tick down your mana counter, and there should be audio feedback so you understand what's happening when it's happening. Like, your mana that you have remaining should tick down 1 damage at a time in rapid succession. Please, let's not make it last forever, because we have enough of that. But it would seriously solve problems with protected, and you wouldn't have this infinite thing going on at the end. I think that's just how it should function, regardless if you change this card or not. But also, I would just agree that giving your god protected and ward every turn that just seems like a bad idea. So
yeah, I mean, FakeMews was saying, the answer still lies in APOC now, but people are mentioning in the chat as well. Would be, obliterate and order would be answers to this. So, Control Light has some counterplay against this, which it would be kind of interesting, I guess. But really, it's the only thing other than APOC now that I can see that would be available in the game to actually do anything to this creature.
Does Death have any way to discard cards from their hand to the void?
Not yet. That was one thing I'm worried about. As soon as they add that mechanic, and they probably will, then you're gonna have some OP reanimation stuff.
I was just thinking, if you can get this in your graveyard and raise dead it, the game is over. There's literally no way to kill this other than Apocalypse now. It literally can't die.
Up to Casino Death for sure.
If you just have a mill deck, and you can draw it. It's the only problem is if it ends up in your hand somehow. But as soon as it's in your graveyard and you hit it with a raise dead, the game's over.
Yeah, I think though the whole thing with the raised dead, there just isn't any reliable way to get the cards that you need into the void and not get. Yeah, as long as they keep that from being reliable or dependable, I think it'll be fine. I would like to see more ways to get cards into the void, but ones that are not I guess not too many more. I feel like there's a couple. But yeah, I do hear what you're saying there. If they do end up doing something like that, we're probably going to lose even more. what little balance remains. Sorry, I know it's not that bad, but it's getting there. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say? I think this is our last card for the day. After this, we're just going to be hitting the Trials Rare Chest raffle. We'll be pulling a winner for that. But I think, does anyone have anything else?
I think chat is itching for free stuff.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Leeches.
So did any of you wanted to say, I guess real quickly, it would be nice to hear your final words and thoughts. Let's go just left to right, FakeMews, Krumpy, and Alymere. If you had just one thing to say briefly about the set, either feedback for the team or just a final consensus on what you think about it. Can we do that real quick?
War is going to be a problem until they nerf the things that they need to nerf. Once they nerf it, death is going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think going on from that, it's going to be sort of this cascading thing where you'll nerf something or you bring something into line and then something else rears its head. Whether it's new mechanics such as frenzied. I'm a little bit concerned about first and second turn dynamic with changes to frenzied. So yeah, I think plenty of power creep. And stuff's going to need to be brought back into line. I think the balanced team is going to have plenty of work cut out for them.
Yeah, overall right now, this feels like a 5 or 6 turn game. GU just doesn't have manas above 5 or 6 at the moment. And this is going to make it that much worse with Rolling Thunder. Maybe the most overpowered card I've ever seen printed in a card game ever.
Yeah, so the whole thing for me with the current state of the game, one thing I'm really highly I'm concerned about is the idea that you can have really overpowered cards that are in the core and welcome like Enduring Shield and just say, well, overall, the landscape will be fine because of new cards that are being implemented. As if like you can excuse bad balance in the core sets of the game by some cards that are going to be available in an expansion. And I just think that's a very bad way to think about balance. I don't think it works. So I think you should really like I would say step back, make sure that you get the stuff fixed with Welcome and Core and the changes that happened before the set. And don't let like some sort of imbalance of a certain card that's going to be need to be played in every deck, like play into your overall balancing scheme. And then just be realistic about the power creep. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna have to reach out to Chris Clay to do another interview, because I feel like some of this stuff just contradicts what we heard in the last interview. But I am excited for the set. Good job to the whole team for getting this stuff out. Thanks for giving us content to play and review and critique. But I think that's it for us for now. I'll let you guys get going. And that is it for the Divine Order meta preview. I hope you all liked the content. If you did, please like and subscribe below. We're going to have a lot more content coming for you with the new set, which comes out in only one day. Till next time, y'all. Peace.